Welcome to another week of strategies, tactics, and techniques for MMA. This week's tutorial is a continuation from last week on defining the 5 different types, archetype fighters that you may face in MMA or in the UFC. I explained last week a definition of each of the, actually 4 archetypes, even though we're going to call them 5, of the 4 distinct different types of psychological patterns or preferences that every fighter has, wired in them subconsciously in a fight or flight response. So a lot of people ask me questions on what is an archetype, and an archetype, I would say in general, is kind of like not the style of martial arts that they're in. It's the preference or the pattern or style that they adopt when they are in a stressful situation. That could be obviously we're talking about combat, but it could be into a life-threatening situation other than combat. So every fighter has a dominant trait or psychic pattern that they are going to use repetitively when they feel fear or when they are in that fight or flight mode. Okay, and it's important to figure out exactly what archetype you are personally, so you can perfect your archetype as well as know the disadvantages and the advantage of your archetype. From there, you want to learn about every opponent, every sparring partner, training partner that you interact with, and figure out what is their archetype and what are their advantages and disadvantages. The overall goal is, once you understand what all 4 archetypes are and what they are not, their advantages along with their disadvantages, is to learn how to become a synergist. A synergist is a martial artist or a practitioner that has virtually can adapt to any situation and can use any strategy or tactic of method within the system or style they're studying as a means to solve the problem. The end result is to escape or to end the sport bout. When doing this, becoming a synergist, this is not an emotional response that you are using. Remember, the archetypes are emotional responses from being threat. So aggressive or passive or evasive. If someone's very aggressive, when you attack them in here and they want to get aggressive back, that is an emotional response. If someone attacks me here and I go, whoa, and I get out of the way in here like this, and I'm very evasive, and I don't want anything to do with danger or any kind of contact, that's an emotional response. So a synergist can use all the archetypes to their advantage. Even though a synergist has their own preference, they all still have their own primary archetype. They know how to control their emotions a lot better and disguise it through practice and training. So it takes a lot of years a lot of experience to figure out, how, who, and what is what archetype. And again, the strategies and tactics that you deploy against each archetype in here. So you got to have a big set of tools in the toolbox. And be very well-rounded with those things, and a lot of times in MMA, the archetypes are operating the emotion, and the emotions are doing the fighting, not the strategy and tactics. So we're going to go ahead today and get into how to become some of these archetypes in here. We're going to shoot a video here, one each week on one archetype. Today's archetype we're going to pick is how to become what we call a slugger archetype. And then the next week we're going to get into the different archetype and so on and so forth until we go through all of them. So I've done some other videos in the past about what the archetypes are, what their advantages and disadvantages are. I'm going to talk about the slugger archetype today in detail and what his advantages are, and how to become a better slugger, and give you some kind of drills, I guess, and kind of his primary traits to practice on in here, and then you can kind of add your own twist to it. So let's go ahead and get into the first archetype in here, which is called a slugger archetype. Okay, the first archetype that we're going to discuss is what we call a slugger archetype. Now in boxing they also call this maybe a puncher. We call them a slugger for the reason being is that a slugger archetype is defined as a power puncher. A power puncher who not only is going to try to deliver maximum force, but a power puncher who's also a stalk and destroy type fighter here. In other words, this archetype is extremely aggressive, and his biological nature is to try to come at you almost like a cat is stalking its prey, and right at the right moment he's going to try to pounce on you with everything he has and take you out in the shortest time frame possible. Okay, so a slugger is very aggressive, and he gets his power. A slugger, he or she, gets their power through leverage in weight transfer. In other words, they are trying to stand here and swing the baseball bat as hard as they possibly can in here like this and knock you out or cause damage with one big shot. That is their primary objective, is to take you out with one big hit. Okay? They are not concerned about your power unless you knock them out. They are more concerned about causing you damage, and they will take damage if necessary in order to cause you more damage back. Okay? So a slugger is a very aggressive type fighter who is willing to take punishment in order to stalk and destroy and give you more punishment back. Okay? That is a generic definition of a slugger archetype. Okay? They are very common. There's a lot of common sport fighters who are sluggers. Now, why they are aggressive, who knows? Again, that is how they were born, or something they learned as they grew up as a child. But irregardless, is that their fight when it comes to fight or flight, their response is to use force on force in here and try to dominate the other person. Right? It's not to retreat or escape. Okay? So let's talk about some of the advantages that a slugger has. Obviously, we say he's a power puncher. A lot of times they're very durable. They're almost like they've been in war so many times. Unless you not hurt them in here, they probably can take a punch back in here, right? Boom, and keep on hitting here like this, right? Even if you like split their face open in here, right? They're gonna keep on swinging and swinging until you go down. So they're very durable, at least in the very, in the beginning of a fight. Okay. Some of their disadvantages of a slugger first and foremost is when they put all their energy in a one big punch, they may not have the endurance to go very long, depending upon the athlete. Some have a lot of endurance, some don't. So the fact that he puts a lot of power in his punches, he may run out of energy really fast, especially if he's not effective. Remember, a slugger wants to end the fight as fast as possible, so he's trying to connect with any target he possibly can every single time and try to destroy it. Okay. Some of the other disadvantages of a slugger is that the fact that they're trying to put all their energy into one big punch in here like this is that they telegraph their intentions. It's very hard to throw a power punch without telegraphing some degree of your body before the weapon releases, whether it's a punch or a kick. So what that means in here like this is, a slugger a lot of times will rely on a lot of big circular and haymaker type blows. Okay? And a lot of times what they'll do is they're going to sacrifice telegraphing and economy of motion in order to get the technique in here like this. So a lot of times they'll telegraph their intentions as they deliver the technique, which also puts them in position to get intercepted or for you to escape before it gets there because you see it coming. So disadvantages, the slugger is a telegraphic puncher. Another disadvantage of a slugger is most of them don't care about defense. So they're not necessarily inclined to block or evade your techniques in here. So they're susceptible to getting knocked out themselves if you connect, effectively. So a lot of times a slugger in here, like I said, will throw techniques with one big punch, and if they don't, get you on the first punch in here, they can get hit on the second punch in here, and that may drop them. Okay, it may not. It may take a couple hits for you to connect with them in here like this, and as they get hit, boom, right, boom, that punch may do it. Okay, so they're susceptible to getting intercepted or stopped hit in here. All right. The other disadvantage of a slugger is that usually they are not very mobile fighters. So they're susceptible to being drawn out. In other words, meaning that a slugger usually is a set fighter in here like this. He's going to stalk, and he's going to usually try to cut the range off, cut the ring off, or cut the angle off in here, or stand in front of you if he doesn't stalk you in here, and get set so he can swing the baseball bat in here like this. In order really for him to really hit hard, he has to get set in the first place. So a slugger is going to be more anchored to the ground in here. So a lot of times, if you're not in the range in here, they have a hard time trying to cover ground in here like this. If they got to pick their feet up and move, it just takes them more time to get set again to hit. Okay, so they have some mobility issues going on too. And again, this doesn't necessarily mean they're not they can't move. But remember, their primary thing is to get kind of close to you as much as they possibly can. And kind of going, okay, right about here, because they want to throw techniques out here. They want to try to hit you out here with maximum force and then get you to trade back. They want to get into a trading contest and, basically kind of pound you into the earth by just beating you before you get to them with maximum weight transfer and leverage. Okay? The last thing that's a disadvantage, very common of a slugger, and this is something that we're going to talk about today as far as the drill. This is the first skill set we want to practice in becoming an effective slugger, is most sluggers don't have a jab strike of any kind. Okay, most sluggers are not going to try to set up their techniques with a jab in here. Most sluggers, average sluggers in sport fighting, are usually going to try to lead with a big overhand right in here like this, or a big hooking technique. Irregardless of what distance they're at, they're more concerned about trying to get the technique there with maximum power in here like this. So even if they're delivering the technique from an inappropriate range, they may not know that, but all their concern is out leading with the biggest hit in here and delivering a technique like this. Okay, as opposed to trying to use their jabbing, to try to use their jab up to get in here, and then once they get their jab in here like this to get you to react, now they're close enough to deliver a bigger technique, and now it's kind of more appropriate to deliver more of a powerful technique behind that speed strike or that jab, because now you've occupied your opponent and you're in range. So most sluggers, again, don't have an economized lead jab or something that's going to probe or keep you at bay in here like this. Okay. So now that we've covered the advantages and disadvantages of the slugger, let's go ahead now and let's get into the first kind of drill or exercise into helping any fighters become a more effective slugger. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the first kind of drill or exercise you can use in your training and sparring to help you becoming more of an effective slugger. If you find yourself that you are a slugger archetype, and you know that for sure, this is definitely something that can help you. Even if you're not a slugger by nature and you're learning how to become more of a power puncher or a slugger, this can help you as well. So I just explained earlier that most sluggers don't have a jab strike of any kind in here. And if they do have a jab strike, they don't use it in such a way to try to deliver maximum or force or any force that's going to stun you or put you out of position or off balance. Most of the time, if a slugger does have a jab, it's more of something here that's just going to kind of flick or snap out. That doesn't really have any threat behind it. But their intention in here is to keep you looking at this thing in here, and so they can land this in here. And the problem I have with that is that it's very obvious when that's done repetitively, especially in a sparring or an MMA bout, because of the long duration, is that, remember, archetypes are usually going to repeat, the definition again of the archetypes, they're going to repeat their pattern over and over. So if I'm a slugger in here and I'm, hold it up a little higher, and I'm kind of using let's say that I'm using my jab, and I just want to kind of get it out here to kind of, measure you in here like this, but my real intention is just to deliver this big hit in here. And I do that all the time, every time I engage my opponent in sparring. Well, he's going to pick up on that this jabbing technique is not threatening at all. So he's really not going to be so concerned about timing this or dealing with this. He's looking for, my opponent's looking for me to throw my rear cross or my haymaker. So every slugger usually has a favorite power punch they deliver. Either it's a hook or a haymaker or a rear cross of some kind. And the jab is either nowhere to be found, or if they do use it, it's really not used in the intent to set up and threaten. So what we want to do is kind of show you first how to kind of get into a good slugger stance, and then how to develop an effective jab as your primary setup. And then from there, we want to teach how to get into and deliver a power swarm. So let's go ahead and take a look at that now. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the slugger stance in here. Okay, now to have an effective stance for a slugger, you want to be able to hit all around the clock. I call it clock striking in here. So you want to have a stance that allows you to punch. We're going to say this is 12 o'clock in here like this. But let's say an uppercut in here is at 6, right? And a hook is at 3. Right, maybe a cross is at 9 or something like that in here. But you want to be able to punch all around the clock. In order for you to do that, you can't have a stance where you're more sideways like this. Okay, so you can't have this back foot turned out here and pulling your rear side of the body, your side that's further away from the target, away here, because you just won't be able to reach the guy. Okay, I understand that people want to kind of get sideways in here like this to kind of hide their vital targets like a boxer. Okay, but this is not going to work very well if you're trying to be effective with both sides of your body. Okay, for 2 reasons. A, you're going to have to turn more like this. Okay, so that's going to create more motion in here. Remember, any technique you throw off the rear side of the body is always a 2-step action. I don't care how fast you deliver it, it's always going to be 2 steps of action, because there has to be some degree of lunging in here. I have to actually take my body, get my arm up in here, and then move it to here, right? So there's always going to be 1 and then 2, no matter how fast that's going to be. Whether you do a hook in here like this or a roundhouse kick, you're going to have to pull it from further away. So if that being the case, why you do not want it back here, because he's going to see it easier. Okay? So again, if you're trying to become an effective slugger, the goal is you still want to be able to deliver a good effective power strike, but the trick is not to let him see it. So you want to be disguised when you do this. Okay? Because I'm assuming my opponent is looking for a slugger in here. If he knows I'm a slugger, I want to disguise it as much as I possibly can, not let him know right up front that here I am. Okay? So for an effective slugger stance in here, we actually want to do the reverse. We actually want to square our body up a little more, but still keeping this rear side back. So we want to pull this hip and shoulder a little more forward in here, but it's still slightly back in here like this. That way I can reach him, much easier in here when I deliver my technique in here like this. Now I don't want it completely squared up, but I want to have it slightly back in here like this, so I can still create, some torque in here when I deliver my technique. Okay? Okay, so when you're delivering a rear cross, you're delivering, a rear hook in here, you want to be able to get it out there as fast as you possibly can, but still have that mentality of delivering maximum power with it in here, and still being in position and in balance from the time that you initiate, right, to the time that you recover in here like this. Okay, so that's step number 1. Step number 2 in the stance in here is you want to make sure that your guard position is coiled and loaded. Okay, now what this means in here is for a slugger. Remember, if you're a slugger, you got to have the thought process is that if you're going to try to stalk this guy and get very close and inch your way up, you got to assume that he's ready for that every moment. So, and with that being said, you need to take into account this guy's also going to try to time you and take your head off and stop you. Okay? So I want to have a guard in here like this, or that I'm kind of coiled and loaded behind, so I can protect myself in here if need to be when I try to set up my power techniques in here. Okay? I just don't want to have my hands dangling down here like this, and I certainly don't want to be standing here like this. Okay, so your tactics are to put a guard position in here where you're loaded in here like a shot put. All right, at the same time, your guard is kind of lined up, ready to slam into this guy. When I say that, that means that could be an elbow, right? That could be delivering, a ramming type shield in here like this. We often talk about a shield concept in here. The other thing with the guard in here is you also want to be in position where you can shield your body. So if, let's say if I throw a big, powerful rear cross, and he takes his other hand in here and fires back in here, can I shield my body? And if I have to use evasion, I will, in here like this, to kind of cover here and get right back into the fight. So it's almost like a gladiator, that you have a shield and a sword in both hands. And a gladiator will take his sword and stab his way and slice his way in, and he'll also use his shield to kind of jam and block and deflect right on your doorstep. He even may hit you with it too, while he's trying to use his sword. So that's kind of the slugger mentality we're trying to adopt. We're trying to have both weapons loaded for offense and defense in here at the same time. So we want to bring our hands in kind of a loaded protection in here like this, where our elbows are down, nothing, I don't want to get it ridiculous in here. And I certainly don't want to put my hands in an unnatural position that requires me to do more motion. So I don't want to do the Mike Tyson peekaboo thing like this, and have to take my arm from here and then come way out and turn my wrist over here. That's just wasted motion. When I have my arms pretty neutral in here like this, kind of right around my face with my elbows down naturally, about the width, the natural distance of where my hands naturally hang. So my elbows don't hang like this naturally, they're right here. So I'm going to pick them up. You look at it from this angle, they're just sitting right here like this. Now, the other thing I'm going to do in here is I'm going to get small. A slugger, you want to become a small target in here with your stance. You do not want to be up tall. Reason being is A, smaller target, harder to hit. B, you're not taking advantage of your legs and glutes in here, the big muscles of your legs, like if you were doing a squat. Okay, if you're up here like this, you're at the end of your legs in here. So I want to be crouched and loaded in here like this. So when I'm standing here, I'm small, protecting my mid and upper gate, so when I deliver a technique, I can transfer a lot of weight coming behind my technique in here like this and pull right back into my stance in here like this. Okay, so remember, a slugger's not going to try to leap in at you. Okay, but he is actually going to be right underneath himself where he can kind of move very lateral and stalk his way into you when he probes in here like this. Okay, so one of the things becoming a good slugger is to stay in balance and stay in your stance, staying in your base of support in your hips. Okay, so often you'll see a lot of fighters, they're standing real wide in here. Yeah, go and hold that pad up. And they're standing real wide in here like this. From far out, they want to hit, and they're like this. Down here like this. And they're so out of position when they do that, that they get countered right at the end of their technique in here because they're so out of position. Because their base is too wide for one, so their upper body is going further outside than their base of support allows. And then also the other thing is that they're firing the techniques from too far of a distance. They're firing the big hammer from way back here. I'm never going to get it there. I don't need a big hammer from back here. What I need is I need a fast hammer from right here, and then the big hammer when I'm closer. Okay. So the first step is getting into a more of a loaded coil stance in here, where your chin is tucked down. Your arms aren't up completely and covering your face. You don't want to obscure your vision. I tend to like to look right down through my guard in here like this with my chin tucked down. I'm slightly squared up, but I still have rear side power in here like so. My back leg, my drive leg is loaded, and I'm facing forward here like this, coiled in here so I can move here. Okay, so that is the first thing is to get that stance where it's comfortable for you. Okay, so I just went over kind of how to create a loaded and coiled stance in order to become this slugger archetype. So the reason being is you want to stay coiled and loaded in here, so you're loaded to transfer a lot of leverage, boom, into your techniques, whatever technique you're going to deliver in here, and also diminish your target areas in here, so it's much harder for someone to counter you in the upper gate in here as well as the mid gate in here like this. Okay. Now, obviously, with the exceptions, it's maybe kicking a little bit. So, if we were to talk about, the slugger for, becoming incorporating your kicking in here, you obviously are probably going to have to shorten your base up a little bit and still be in a position where you can check, and jam in here. But that's, those are more tactics, more harder tactics to become a slugger. But it is those are things that definitely can be done. Okay. So now. Taking the stance in here is now what we want to do is start to develop a good, fast, but powerful jab. So as a slugger, we want to still have the mentality, my thinking is, you still want to have the mentality of keeping a barrier, you know, as your jab off to keep a person at bay. You still want to be able to keep your opponent at bay if he decides to charge in or you or something like this. You also want to have a jab so you can set up your techniques like, you know, boxing coaches and fighters talk about in here. But the difference is that you do not want to solely rely on just landing a big power punch. You actually want to tactically learn how to, strategically learn how to set your opponent up so he's not sure when you're going to let that hammer go. Okay? So for an effective jab, we're going to say this. Okay, we're going to say right now that you want to get close enough, so as I stalk this thing, you know, I want to get close enough range where I'm basically right at range or just right outside the guy's range. So I don't want to be stepping in too much as a slugger and having to locomote my body there. I don't want to do that as a slugger. I want to, very little. I kind of want to be there in here, okay? So with being crouched over in here, what we're going to pick is I'm going to deliver this horizontal punch like this. Right? So usually when I teach two different kinds of jabs. I teach an economy jab where we deliver a vertical fist. We're more natural here. And we also teach a lead cross or a horizontal jab where we deliver here that offers a little more protection of the high outside line and also a little more power. So for a slugger, this one is perfect in here because again, you're assuming this person's going to try to take your head off. So a slugger tactically should be going into combat ready to also shield his own body as well. Okay, not just take you out with the biggest weapon. So what we're going to do in here is let's switch this way. I'll show you from this angle first. So I'm going to get in that crouch position in here. And I just want to have my lead shoulder slightly ahead of my rear. I don't want to be out here like this. I want to make sure that my lead foot is pretty much turned straight. I don't want to turn it too angled like this in here because I'm going to be kind of inclined. I want to step on the center line in here. So I want to have, here's my center line in here. I want to have my body split right in half in here like this. Now for the punch in here, what you're going to do is you throw the technique, you want to get your elbow up in here. So you got to get this punch up like this first. You just don't want to be throwing it from here like most fighters do. Remember, this punch doesn't have any real effect on it in here like this, especially until the last couple inches. So for a tactical slugger, I want to be able to hit this guy when I step in right from here like this. Okay, so as I step forward in here with minimal amount of commitment, I'm going to bring my elbow up here and my head is going to be down to protect if I have to take a hit like this. So it's going to go 1 and then 2. Okay, and what I'm trying to do is rotate into the target with very little stepping in here, right? What I'm not trying to do is go fall forward like this. Okay, I'm not leaning on my back foot here trying to stay away and go do stuff like this. I'm actually stalking this guy going, okay, you know what? I'm going to zero in on you in here and I'm going to land this lead jab in here like this, right? So as I bring my head down, my head is coming down in here like this to protect with my eyes wide open in case I got to take a hit too. Remember, as a slugger, anticipate he's going to swing at you at the same time you're swinging at him. That's one of the major differences in this version of a slugger as opposed to how other guys do it. I'm consciously looking for his counter back. So eventually what I need to do is I need to learn how to move my head as I deliver the punch in here like this. So whether it's straight down or over to the corner in here, I'm crouched, loaded, and I'm dropping my head in here. It's not necessarily, I have to duck every time. But the point is that I'm moving my head at least twice in order to avoid any, preconceived counters back. Okay? I remember I don't want to trade with him. Even becoming a slugger, I really don't want to trade with him. If I'm tactically intelligent, I don't want to trade with him. But what I want to do is I want to make him think I want to trade with him and then time him. Okay? So again, when I'm here, I'm actually going to bring this thing up very quick, and as I bring it up, my head is going to drop down into this pocket and getting this elbow up and stepping in here. Just a little bit. And again, I'm trying to throw that very fast in here. So I can kind of move left and right, okay? So stepping left and right as a slugger, you want to step lateral and still stay loaded to where you can still step forward in here. And you see that as I get crouched over as I deliver that technique. So it's okay to kind of have your elbow bent a little bit as long as your elbow is up. You know, you don't want to be delivering the technique with your head up in here like this. So punching right off your shoulder line in here like this. Okay, that's the first step is learning how to develop, you know, an economized jab that can kind of jam in your opponent. Remember, you're actually trying to deliver the technique in such a way to where it's you know, he feels like, hey, I got to stop this thing in here like this, like that. So I'm putting the brakes on like that from there. And the next piece in here is, once we're here, is to move our head in a viable direction that doesn't take us out of position. So let's go ahead and take a look at that now. Okay, now that we've gone through how to develop somewhat of a basic kind of a jab that would work for a slugger in order to use to set up power strikes, now what we want to do is to be conscious of the fact is where our head is when we deliver the technique and where our head is when we deliver it or when we recover after the technique. Okay, that's super important. Okay, so as a slugger, again, I don't want to throw a punch out here with, you know, my intention is to hit you hard and to leave my head sitting here like this. I want to be ready to move my head, you know, offline or change gaits, as well as, you know, if I have to protect at the same time and evade in here like this. So it's kind of a combination of protect and evade at the same time. And the definition of body evasion is to be able to move your upper body, you know, within your base of support and make a person miss without having for you to leave range. Okay. So we're going to say, as a general rule, I like to move my head at least twice, at the very least once, but at least you got to move it once when I deliver my punch in order to become a slugger. Okay, and you'll see that as we progress in here. So here's how this looks in here. So when let's set it this way more here. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I throw the technique. Okay, so I'm at range in here. I'm coiled and loaded like this. As I throw the punch, my body naturally is probably going to want to fall this way. So I drop my head here. Okay, so I'm putting my head over to this corner in here like this. So if you think about, here's the pad and 4 corners. I'm putting my head, boom, over to this corner in here like that. Okay, just naturally going to kind of let it drop over there again in here. So coiled here, and I'm going to drop it right here like this. And I'm going to hang out right here. Now from here, okay, I can either move it several directions, with the exception of this way. I can't go any further this way, I'm going to tip over. So if I move it over to the left corner in here, like this, I can move it down, okay? I can move it back this way. So it can be down and over, or it can be down and back up. Those are my options. So at the camera, it would be, boom, my head shifts over here, okay? Boom, I crouch, I stay crouched in here like this, not too low. And then I can either go over, or I can pop back up. Okay, I can go down and over. So here, and then over. So if you look, I kind of just bring my head off line as I throw the technique, boom, like this. Okay, so the only really way I can get hit is on this flank over here, but I subconsciously know that. So that's why this hand is here ready to block in here, or to move my head over here like this. All right, so remember, take into account too, as becoming a slugger, you're probably going to take a little bit of glancing damage. So you got to take that into account. But that's what makes them all so dangerous, because they're willing to do that. Okay, as opposed to other archetypes, they don't want anything to do with any damage at all. So again, I'm going to move my head once. Okay, then I'm going to move it twice. Okay. So it comes over, 1, 2, and then back. Okay? So making sure, again, when you do this, is you just don't overcommit, but you deliver a good economized jab that goes through a good 3 to 6 inches in here, and then over. Okay? Making sure that don't try to move your head before you throw the punch. Don't try to put it all together where you're going like this in here. You still want to land the punch and then your head. Your head should move for two reasons. Either you're moving it as you're delivering the technique, or you're moving it after you deliver the technique because he took a swing at you. Don't try to start moving your head and get your head over there before the punch even happens, because you'll probably focus more on getting your head there and you won't get the punch off effectively. Still focus on getting the punch there effectively. So one more time in here. Crouched over, coiled and loaded behind here like this. My chin is down and I'm going to square up in here with this rear side a little forward, bringing my head down as I bring the arm up and here. So it's a quick down and over like this. All right. So we kind of call that like a slip and crouch, or some people call it a weave, right? Whatever terminology you want to use in here. But the point is to move your head twice. That way, if a guy tries to swing at you in here, you got a margin for error more. Okay, so that's moving your head to the inside. Okay, so now let's go ahead and add on to that now in the next clip. All right, now that you're able to effectively jab your way into range, strike the pad or strike the target, and move your head to the inside of your body, depending on your stance. So if you're a conventional stance, orthodox, you're going to be throwing your jab this way, obviously, and then you're going to shift your head over to your right, and then drop it down, and then you're back on center line and back over like that. Okay, if you're a southpaw like me, then obviously it's going to be into your left in here like this. Okay, now slipping your head to the outside, or moving your head to the outside, creates the same thing. So there are times where you're going to have to be able to do this too. Now, so when you do that, it's just the reverse. So as I deliver the technique, I'm going to move my head right when I make contact over here. And I'm going to stay coiled and loaded here like this. This effectively puts me in position for a hook or any torquing blow off in here. This one on this side in here puts me in position for a cross, to come back over with a cross or a rear uppercut, or stepping on an angle in here. Some of the tactics you'll see as we go further in this series on the Slugger is to learn how to create angular techniques using, or indirect, what we call indirect angular attacks, using the same technique but just changing the angle slightly in order to give ourselves the advantage and create the illusion for him. Okay, so moving your head to the outside in that slipping and crouching position. Okay, and here, bring it arm up and protect, bring it over here, and then drop down. So you're going to pull straight down and then move it over to the left and then come back. So there's your 1, 2, and if you want to go 3, you can. Okay, but like I said earlier, at least once, but I like to do twice in here, but you know, that's going to kind of be up to you in the moment when you're sparring or drilling. So one more time in here. Squared up, shorten my base, so I don't have to reach that far, but I can stabilize. All right, here. Here. Like this. So here, shift my head offline as I pull back, boom, 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 like this. And what I like to do is I like to finish down low. I like to finish, if I'm facing my opponent in here, I like to finish, boom, down here. I like to operate down here like this. I don't like to pop back up and then try to go from here. Why? It's because I'm more susceptible. As he knows this, I'm a slugger and I'm more susceptible as I pop back up, clunk, in here like this. So if I'm always trying to pop back up to hit in the upper gate, to stand back up as my primary way of attacking, then sometimes that can become predictable. So I like to finish lower in here at first, right? So boom, 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 and then I still can come up to the upper body in here. I still need to stand up tall, cross, right? Hook, cross, uppercut, cross, cross. In here, right? Boom, boom. So I can throw a hook down here and then come right back up to the head. I don't have to stand up first and do that. Okay? And this eventually starts to create what we call the power swarm, the combat power swarm. Okay? So go ahead and practice now hitting and slipping your head off either way in here and crouching. So at least try to move 2 times in here. So I can move to the inside in here, right? Here, and I can move to the outside in here, and then step back. You know, 2, boom, is when you're down here, you're going to step back kind of crouched over. Don't stand up and step back. Okay? But don't stand up in here out of, while you're in range, and then go, I think I'll step back. Because you're just, it's easier for him to go, okay, right now, clunk with a bat. Try to step back. If you're going to step back, ducked over. Much harder for a person to hit downward and tiny down here than it is up here. Okay? So go ahead and practice that. And we'll go on to the next tip you can do to become a more effective slugger. All right, now you should be able to establish moving your head both left to inside, left to right, inside off your jab, outside to off your jab, and then adding a drop or a duck to that movement. So 2 movements in here, right? Slip, duck, right? Slip, duck, and then coming back. Once you can establish that and stay in balance, okay, a true good balance in there. From there, the next important striking tactic that a slugger should have is a good cross-hook combination. Right, now I'm going to pick the cross-hook combination because like jab, cross-hook is like A, B, C. Right, but this doesn't mean that the slugger is going to deliver this. This doesn't mean that you deliver it in this order. This is just a way to practice the techniques. Okay, so you want to come up with all kinds of ways to strike around the clock, and we'll go through that down the road here in the month of this on this video tutorial. So for today, we're going to pick the cross hook. Okay, so however your partner holds the pads, it's up to you in here. But we want to take into account that head position again. So if I'm going to strike my jab in here, I want to make sure that when I strike with my jab, that we follow up with that head dropping down here like this. Now what I want to do is I want to open up for this cross in here like this. So I really want to open up my body in here with my head down in this crouch position and then coming back with a hook in here. So it would kind of look like here. So boom, drop, down, down in here, and then recover. Try to stay tight in here. So your head just needs to move. Fire, 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 and back. Protecting my head, and back. Hold them a little tighter together. So stepping in, dropping my head, offline, and back. So I can sit here and move my head even over that line if I want, just to kind of tell me that's where I want to go in here. Okay, one more time. And back. I want to make sure that I hit with my whole body. You notice, if I take the jab out of it for a moment, and I throw my cross, my whole body is going to torque into the blow. So when that hook comes back in here, I want to make sure that I don't just throw my arm. I want to make sure when I throw my cross, boom, in here, I'm crouched down like this, my elbows up. And as I bring this back, I'm going to throw my hook and come through, and then I'm going to change levels again. So taking the jab out of it, hold it more like so, is cross, hook, change levels, back up, right, cross, hook, drop, down, and I can't go any further this way, and recover, right? Okay, making sure that I really rotate from my T-spine and my hook. Okay, now, what a lot of slugger guys will do, because they're so caught up in making contact with the guy, that they forget where their hands are. Do not lose sight of your hands. If you cannot see your hands out of your peripheral, you're going like this, you're in a bad spot, unless, until you knock them out. So making sure that your hands always return back in here like this. If I throw my cross, my lead hand is right up in here, and then where my rear hand is. In here like this, so I can shield or protect in here. Okay, so, and back here like this. Okay, so put your jab back in front of it again is deliver a fast but powerful committed jab. Okay, in here. Oops, left them on. Right, coiled, loaded, right, and then drop my head. Okay, so go ahead and practice delivering that jab technique, moving your head to the inside, boom, down a little bit, and then shifting your body, pulling it across the center line, wham, with a cross in here, head down, and then rotating your arm back in position, boom, and a hook, and then shifting, moving your head at least twice again. So your head is never coming right back up on the center line right after the last combination, last technique. Go ahead and work on that now. Okay, now that you should have worked on delivering your protected jab, changing your head position, your protected cross, coming through a protected hook, all your punches should be protected. Then you're immediately going to change levels again, change your line, your head line in here, back over down like this, keeping it here. So now from here, we're just going to follow this, move right back, and we're going to come right up in here with a rear uppercut. Again, this is just kind of following the, the alphabet, A, B, C, right? A, B, C, and then D in here like this. Okay, but again, in tactical fighting, your swarms or your combinations are to be based on his reactions and his responses, not because your coach is looking for a certain move for you to throw just to make him happy. Okay, so you set the pads up however you want in here. Squaring, let's go more this way in here. Yeah. So delivering the technique. So I'm going to jab, drop, cross, protect, hook. Now as I come down, I'm going to change levels. As I change levels and come right back on center line, I'm going to bring this uppercut in here like this. Once I'm up in here, then I'm going to drop back down again and come right over this way. So my head will finish up here like this. Boom. Okay? So my head eventually will start to become this almost like a pinata in here, a moving pinata like this. So in boxing they may call it bobbing and weaving. We can call it the same thing. But the point is that you're conscious of the fact that this guy can counter you back in the midst of any one of those combinations. Whatever you seem to be doing in here, you want to be able to move your head as you're delivering those techniques. And I like to stay my head constantly somewhere between the upper and mid gate. I don't like to stay up here when I finish in here. Boom, boom, boom. I like to stay down here. Like much harder for him to hit me in here like this. Plus I also can stuff his tackles too if I need to. Okay. So again, jab, crotch, protected jab, protected rear cross, protected hook, and then protected rear uppercut, all consciously moving your head to that slip and crouch position, which eventually becomes a weave. All right, so a weave is essentially a slip and a duck combined. I just like to kind of, instead of rounding it off, I like to kind of make it right angles at first so you know kind of how to make it real, robotic so you can put the brakes on. A lot of people are doing stuff like this in here, okay? All right, so again, protected jab, here. Again, like this, okay? All right, so you work on that now, okay? Again, we're gonna go through some more variations and concepts and how to become a more tactical slugger. But you can start by working on consciously putting yourself in a coiled, loaded stance, and throwing your jab with short commitment but with bad intentions, dropping your head down as you fire, or dropping your head over as you fire over in here like this. Okay, now if I move my head over the other way, that may not necessarily come off my jab. It may kind of feel awkward. So if I go jab and I move my head over here, okay, that may be something like, put the pad like that. Yeah, square up more though. So that may be here going jab here like this, and then hook like that. Okay, so you can work on now here like this. So if you get good with the mitts, obviously your boxing coach is really good at the mitts. They can actually put that in here, so it'd be like jab here, and then you pop up for a cross, whomp, and then it was my cross. My head would move in here like this again. So I can just continue just to add all around the clock in here. Boom. right? Womp, womp, boom, right? Boom, 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 boom. All right, my head is kind of slowly moving in here. Like this. Keeping my eyes wide open and watching right here the whole time. Okay, it's going to make it much harder for him to hit me and still hit him when my whole torso and my hands are moving like this. Okay, so go ahead and work on that and look for the next tutorial on this subject. So if you found this video informative, please go ahead and give it a big thumbs up, like it, share it, comment on it, and we'll see you right back here next week for another strategy, tactic, and technique tip of the week for MMA. Good luck and take care.